Hey, so Matt Drewry, I'm an intern here. I'll be sharing my testimony. So just what an incredible, yeah, you guys can sit. Wow, just, what a blessing to, take all the skeletons out of my closet and share them with 150 of my closest friends. Um, but yeah, I couldn't be happier to be here. And just my story at 14, I was, raised in a Christian household in a Lutheran background. And at 14, I just walked away from my faith entirely. Struck a match, walked away. I don't want to be involved with this. I hate you, God. I want nothing to do with this whole thing. At 15, I started, using and abusing drugs to deal with mental illness. That was who I was. That's what I was going to turn to. 16 was pretty much doing drugs every day. 17 started selling drugs. That's just who I wanted to be. That's where I found my identity. That was the cohort that I was in. That's, what I wanted to be, the, psychedelia counterculture guy. 18, I hiked the PCT, a really long backpacking trip for the people who aren't, Pacific Crest Trail. For the people who aren't acquainted, just a really long backpacking trip. And somebody on the PCT witnessed to me and also said, hey, Mathew, you have a little bit of a drug problem. So you can imagine that conversation went great. And I didn't want to hear it, And so I come back to my hometown, took a gap year, same old, selling drugs in my hometown. And I come here for college, same habits, not living any differently. That's who I wanted to be. And I was going through a real rough patch in my life, sophomore year. And I said, I'll go to church for a year and decide, this is my parents' faith, this is my grandparents' faith. They must have gotten something out of it. Kind of in a jam right now, so I need it. And I vividly remember the time. So I'm in St. Matthew's on 8th Street. I'm sitting in the balcony, probably high if we're speaking realistically, and I feel this sunshine illuminate the stained glass window behind me, and I'm like, wow, this is something outside of me, have that experience. But I wasn't ready. And if I'm being honest, I probably wouldn't have gotten saved if I stayed at that church. Nothing against them, it just wasn't where I was ready to be. And then, so I was in one of my classes, and I had, a friend and a brother, Ben White, just be obedient and invite me to H2O. And let me tell you, the imposter syndrome that I went through, I wanted to do anything but walk through that door. And so I show up, I'm like, gosh, are these people are they gonna ask me the questions about the rest of my life? My life is pretty messed up right now. And just embraced with just the love of Christ, something that I didn't understand, and a worship style and a community and people serious about their faith, walking it out that I never had experienced in my life before. And so I ended up going to a winter conference, February 2020, and believe me, imposter syndrome all over again. Do these people even want to be my friends? Are they just looking at me, as an onlooker? And I was even so broke that my parents had to pay for me to go to winter conference the first time. And that Saturday, the pastor delivered a message talking about Esau and Jacob and what are you forsaking your birthright for? It's pretty obvious for me. It's pretty convicting. That night I gave my life to Christ and I had communion for the first time in 6 years. But I didn't, complete the story. The week before, I ran out of drugs, and that is something that had happened before and normally would be sort of a panicked moment. What am I going to do? What is my life like without this? But I just knew it was over. I had turned the page, as Paul says in 2 Corinthians, the old has passed away, the new has come. And I didn't know that at the time, but that was God working in me, and I've been 3 years sober ever since. And so just the message that I have for you guys is I used to joke about becoming a born-again Christian, and to the Lord, it wasn't a joke. He is chasing after you like you can't possibly imagine. And the other thing I really want to impress upon you is God looks at me and he doesn't see my past. He doesn't see a thief, a blasphemer, a liar, a cheater, everything. My identity is not in those things. My identity is in the cross. And that took me a real long time to figure out, and I want you to know that. And the other thing is, get connected with H2O. I'm not sure that my faith would have been what it was had I not came here and had I met a community like this. And it's by far the most positive community that you will be in college, maybe, hopefully not in your life. That would be kind of bad. Yeah, that's my story. I would love to talk with you more about it. I don't know what you're going through. I certainly don't have all the answers, but I would love to hear you out. I would love to pray with you. God is more than enough for today, tomorrow, yesterday, your entire life. Give your life to Christ.